Question 7.
Mr. Speaker, in 2018, about 900 HDB flat buyers cancelled their BTO flat bookings, of which 25% were two-room flexi or similar flats, 15% were three-room flats, 38% were four-room flats, and 22% were five-room flats. The main reasons cited for cancelling the BTO flat bookings were either a change in housing plans, for instance, they wish to remain in the existing flat or buy a resale flat, or a change in financial circumstances which affected the flat purchase. Flat buyers who cancel their flat booking before signing the agreement for lease forfeit the booking fee, which ranges from $500 to $2,000 depending on flat type. If they cancel the flat booking after signing the agreement for lease, the forfeiture is 5% of the flat price. They would also need to wait a year before they may apply for another subsidized flat. These measures are in place to ensure that buyers are serious when they apply for a flat and do not deprive others who are in urgent need of buying a flat. Nevertheless, where there are valid grounds, HDB has waived the forfeiture on a case-by-case basis.
Mr. Ang.
Thank you, Ministers, for the answers. Can I have 3 supplementary questions? Do we see a significant increase in the number of Singaporeans giving up the BTO flat in 2018 compared to the past few years? And based on percentage, are there more second-timers that give up the BTO flats compared to the first-timer? And thirdly, are there plans to pick up the profile of the Singaporeans that give up their BTO flats so that we can identify similar profile and appoint applications, counsel them accordingly so that they minimize the chances of they giving up the BTO flats?
Mr. Speaker, can I ask a member to repeat the third question? I didn't quite get the third question.
Do we identify the profile of the Singaporeans who give up the BTO flat, whether they are because they are trying to sell the flat they can't sell, or whatever other reasons, so that we can identify this profile and similarly, at the point of applications, counsel them accordingly?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the member for these supplementary questions. We have not seen a spike in the numbers. Every year there will be a few who come to HDB to cancel for the reasons that I have cited. There are some second-timers who would like to give up because, as the member, Mr. Ang, has cited, they find that they find it difficult to sell their present flat and choose not to proceed with the purchase, right? But these are not that many, because very often when they have these difficulties, our first recourse is to give them more time to sell the flat. And very often, with more time, they are able to sell the flat and then move on to their next flat that they have purchased. So we continue to analyze each of these cases. And as I said earlier, we are flexible. If there are genuine reasons, if there are financial difficulties, we have different ways of helping them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I ask the Minister, when these flats are given up by the purchaser after they have signed the agreement, are these flats subsequently put up for sale under the sale of balance flat? Does HDB suffer losses when the flats are resold? And the third question is whether HDB will consider, instead of forfeiting 5% of the purchase flat price, would HDB consider charging an appropriate administration fee, considering that HDB is not a commercial entity, and really, if there are no losses suffered by HDB, would there be a lighter penalty imposed? Otherwise, the flat buyers do suffer quite a heavy loss for losing 5% of the flat price, and considering that he also has a 1-year time bar imposed on him.
Mr. Speaker, the flats are all put back to the sales of balance flat exercise, so they are all eventually sold through the SBF exercise. As for why 5% and whether there are other mechanisms, at the end of the day, as I said, I think we need a mechanism that ensures buyers consider very carefully the flat purchase. This is a major commitment for the flat buyer as a couple or as a single, and it's a major financial commitment as well. So we want to have that in place to ensure that buyers take it very seriously And they are also mindful that when they make a flat purchase, it's a commitment on their part, and if they were to unwind it, if they were to apply and then unwind it later, they are in fact depriving others who may want the flat more urgently. Right? So it's not so much a loss on the government, but in fact they are depriving others of an opportunity to get a flat. So we want that mechanism in place, but as I said, we do exercise flexibility, and if there are individual cases that for some reason or another decide not to proceed with the application, they put up the case and we will look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Mr. Nispo.
Minister, they are speaking for the non-first-time homeowners. What does the MND propose to help residents who, in cases where the homeowners have genuine difficulty in selling their homes because of the ethnic integration policy? For example, say in Little India, where flats are more popular with a certain ethnic group, and it's really hard to sell to Chinese, buyers, potential buyers, for instance. So I think some of my residents really have genuine difficulty in selling their flats, yet they are obliged to commit to the BTO flats.
Mr. Speaker, I mentioned earlier our first way of addressing these appeals is to give them more time, and very often we find that by giving more time to complete the transaction of the new flat and to sell the existing flat, they are able to proceed. But if even after more time is given, they still are unable to proceed and they wish to not proceed with the new transaction of the new flat, they decide that it's better for them to just stay with their existing flat, they don't want to sell, then I suggest that they approach HDB and we'll look at that particular case. And if indeed there are genuine difficulties with proceeding with the transaction, we will consider whether or not the forfeiture may be waived.
Mr. Gantianpo.
Minister, what I want to raise is for joint applicants. What happens is that one of them actually, something happens and pass on, or for whatever other reason, will HDB allow them to continue to, to purchase a flat? In that case, I mean to say that they didn't, as a result, because they don't fulfill the conditions, and whether if they can't, whether special waiver will be given not to impose penalty on them for such unfortunate cases.
Mr. Speaker, in the event of a demise of an applicant, if the remaining applicant wishes to purchase the flat and is able to meet the eligibility conditions, certainly we will facilitate that transaction. And if in the event that the eligibility conditions are not met and the applicant chooses not to proceed, we will certainly be prepared to consider waiver of the forfeiture.